What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today we're going to talk about North of North a little bit. I'm not that enthused, so I don't really want to talk about North of North. But I do want to talk about the audio description for it, which is why we're here. It's on Netflix. It just dropped recently. And it's one of those things that's not actually a Netflix show. It's actually a Canadian show. So it's going to run on Netflix for however long Canada chooses to run it. Because I mean, Netflix, unless the numbers are just abysmal, I don't know why they wouldn't just keep picking up future seasons of North of North. So, Canadians, let us know how long this series is running up there for you. Uh, so, yeah, it's billed as a Netflix original, but that's only because we're American and we're dumb. And Netflix, uh, pulling the wool over the eyes there. Like, oh, maybe they'll think it's an original. I don't know. Um, so it's a half hour and sitcom, and the runtime is of the runtime. It's not the streaming sitcom. It's the like 20-ish minutes. So it has. I'm sure it runs in Canada somewhere where it has commercial breaks. Uh, yeah, it's fine. The best thing about it is representation, right? Like the best thing about it is it's a story that isn't being done. Like it just isn't being told. There isn't an indigenous like dominant cast, telling a story from their perspective of being like all the hell the way up in the middle of freezing cold Canada, you know. From their unique perspective, even as Americans, when we get a show that features an indigenous cast, it's indigenous to our like area, our land, and we get like reservation dogs. So it feels uniquely American, but there's something about taking sort of, I don't want to say Inuit because I don't want to get it wrong, but sort of that style of being up in, it's called North of North, where it's like icy and snowy most of the time, and sort of embracing that culture. And there's this predominant bulk of the cast that is uh, indigenous in nature, and then they point out like the couple people who aren't whenever they come through there. So our main character lives in the same small little village as her mom. She's raising her daughter, and she's estranged from her husband, who's like still hanging around, but they're not together. She kind of just wants a little bit more freedom. Feels like one of those things where you get married too early and you don't know who you are, and also when you're sort of in like a limited situation, there aren't many choices, right? And eh, did you really do everything to explore? So there's a little bit of that that's introduced here with her wanting to explore and to try to date other people. One of the best audio described scenes is there's this guy that she ends up almost hooking up with, but the scene that is like pre-sex, like it like would lead up to it if this show wasn't uh didn't have to be, I'm guessing, safe for like network air. uh the scene was described pretty well, with like where he was, um like he grabbed her ass, and he was wearing like a loincloth thing. And I thought the just sort of the lead up to something there might, that it was all just sort of really well done. But um in general, I my greatest hope is that the narration is appropriately cast. um there are indigenous narrators out there, and I hope this is one. I don't know. It gets problematic into getting into the sounds like territory. I just would like to remind audio distribution companies that to be responsible, and that when your cast is majority something, that the audio description team probably should reflect that as well. When there's a concerted effort to sort of represent a culture on screen, why wouldn't you represent it uh, you know, through the audio description as well. Um, but it's done by Post House, the audio description. I thought it was pretty good. One of the reasons why I wanted to mention is because Canadians apparently got a text-to-speech version of this. That was their audio description. So down here, Netflix sprung for human audio description. So it was one of the few times where we got the benefit from the sort of second-hand stream onto Netflix from Canada. So uh, they had to listen to a robot, and we get to listen to a real person narrate the show. Uh, if you want to watch it, it's a pretty quick, like 8 episode binge of it's like 4 hours of your life. It's actually less than that. Probably with all the like little 10 minutes taken out each episode, it's probably about the same length as The Brutalist, if we're being honest. If you were to binge this whole thing, it's probably about the same runtime as The Brutalist. So, especially if you did The Brutalist with intermission. So, yeah. Um, I'd watch the second season. I like that it's different. I like that there's nothing else that's like that. It's not something that immediately compels me, but it's cute at times. It's light. I kind of like my comedy a little bit more forward, a little bit more raunchy, I guess, at times. I prefer things a little more body in nature from either stuff like The Studio, or even when network television does it. I like, like Abbott Elementary and St. Denis Medical are two shows that stand out to me right now that are on air. Uh, but Righteous Gemstones, that's kind of my wheelhouse. This is kind of just a little bit outside my wheelhouse. It feels a little too safe. It feels a little too adjacent to Hallmark at times. Like it's trying to be, but it feels like it wants to break away from that. That's why I keep thinking about like the guidelines of being like on network TV, but not being allowed to do certain things or show certain things. This feels like a show that desperately wants to be at least on cable, if not HBO or streaming. And if North of North, I think about like if North of North were to be a big hit for Netflix, but it was canceled by uh, whoever has it in Canada. If Netflix were to pick it up, what would that show continue to look like? Would it then change? Because I think the show wants to. I don't think the show wants to be as wholesome as it is at times. I think the show, when it wants to talk about sex, it wants to go there. It doesn't want to have to cut away. It feels like it's struggling with the format in which it is. So, I would give North of North B minus. I think it's cute, it's funny. It really isn't a standout performance for me. And I just thought the ensemble was good, like across the board. But there isn't like one performance that I'm gonna remember at the end of the year that I would vote for, or anything like that. It's fine. I kind of felt the same way about Reservation Dogs, but people still found performances in Reservation Dogs that they thought stood out above the rest of the cast. I was like, I think everybody in the cast is just the same. I didn't really get that from the cast. So I kind of get that from this. Even though there is a lead, I don't think that she's necessarily funnier than anyone else in the ensemble. There isn't somebody who just pops for me. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.